Hello everyone, it's Bob Gruszecki here from the Alberta Hunter Education Instructors Association. We have a series of videos and work-at-home projects that you can do, and today we're going to do one on tearing apart a survival kit so you can see what's in it. We'll talk a bit about the contents and give you an idea of the value that it might be able to help you in a survival situation. Further details on the survival kit that I'll be demonstrating for you here today is actually in our survival kit workbook that's available for download free online. So let's talk a little bit about what a survival kit is. First of all, survival kit could be something as big and as heavy and as large as this big giant everyday carry pack. And one day we'll tear that apart and show you some of the emergency materials that are necessary in this person's mind when that pack was created. The other things that we have are a little bit smaller, and what I'm going to be teaching is what we're talking about in our hunter education classes. We try to get you to carry something that's not so large that could possibly be left in your truck, which is exactly where you don't want it to be when you need it. You need it to be small enough that it'll be on your person. It has to have the contents that are required to be able to get you out of a survival situation. Having said that, carry what you think is necessary, and remember, survival kits are very personal. You may choose to do something as large as something like this cooking container that can be filled with all kinds of survival materials, and then the container itself can be used to cook product and boil water and store materials and extra matches and extra gear. But the question you have to ask yourself is, are you going to carry this? Is this something that when you leave your day for a hike, are you going to put this in your pack? Are you going to put it on your body to walk if you're just going for a short distance? Because those are the considerations you have to make. When you get lost, you have to have a means of being able to come out alive. So is it something that size? Perhaps another tin, something like this. There's a number of these on the market, these plastic containers that you can fill up with knives and other survival material. And we go into this in a little bit more detail in our workbook. This forms a valuable method of carrying water. They come in a multitude of sizes, but you can't boil anything with it. It doesn't have a cooking platform. It's plastic, so it'll melt and flame. So what we do is we recommend a small tin, something like these. This is what we give our youth and our trainees at the women's seminar, the youth programs, and at the camps. These tins and containers ultimately are what is being filled with the survival materials for a regular outing in Alberta's outdoors. So I'm going to demonstrate that particular style kit, and in this case here, I've built a little container, so do a little bit of leather work, and if you don't, you could get somebody to do something for you, or you could just stick this in your pocket. It's big enough just to fit into your pocket. Ideally, the idea of this is that it can be attached and it's not going to defray or stop you from carrying other goods into the outdoors. You still want to go outside, you still want to have fun. This is an emergency thing, and you need to have it with you in the event of an emergency. And once again, if it's too big, you're probably not going to carry it with you. If it's too heavy, you're not going to want to pack it with you. So let's tear this apart and just see all the things that are inside it. A detailed list, once again, is on our free workbook online. So inside the case is a couple things that are jammed into the outside edges of the case. First of all, there's a fire starter. There's some extra snare wire. I like to carry some cotton because cotton is very helpful if you want to build an extra fire. A compass. There's a multitude of compasses available. I always have one on my person, but in my case, just in case I happen to be separated from my day pack, I make sure I have a survival kit. Then the kit itself, when it comes out of the case, it has the tin itself, which you can see has been used, and it's been used for a number of different years, and it's wrapped in such a way that it's waterproof. So the container is the cooking container, would allow you to boil water or cook some food or whatever you might need. And then I've wrapped a few yards of white tape, which can be used in a survival situation for a multitude of purposes. And I've wrapped this tape around the container to keep it nice and tight and water sealed. And so we'll set that to the side, and then we'll just show you all the goodies that are inside this case. So inside the case, the tin opens, and then there are a number of different things. So I'll dump them all out here to show you, and we'll go through each of the items one by one. So as I mentioned, the case itself can be used as a cooking container. These little wires were pre-made and folded into the can itself, and they're used to be able to cook food or to lift it out of the fire, out of the way of burning yourself. You could stick a stick in there, set it on the flames, and so on. Inside there are some nourishments. So in this case we have some Bovril, some Sanka tea, some tea bags. These things may not be absolutely required in order to make you survive, but it can sure calm you down, and being calm in a survival situation allows you to be cool, collected, think, and get out of the woods safely. We also include things like OXO cubes. You can make a good bowl of soup with something like that. This particular one has survival flare gun and 3 flares. These come in a multiple different array of sizes and shapes and colors. Ideally, it needs to be something that will fit into your container. There are a large amount of strings and threads that you can use for snares. Obviously, some fish hooks. Here you see there's a whole bunch of paper. The paper and a pencil. Pencil is a good thing to carry because it doesn't freeze. You can sharpen it. You might want to use a piece of paper to leave a note on a lean-to. If you're leaving an area, if the searchers find the lean-to and you're not in it, then there's no tracks that they can follow. Perhaps a note. The other thing it can do is it can pass boredom. One of the things that is the biggest enemy of survival in survival situations is ultimately people get lonely, they get scared, and they get bored. Perhaps journaling or writing a story or reading something of importance to you might make a difference. The other things that are in here are fire starters. So I recommend that you carry a large supply of multiple different types of fire starters. So we have strike anywhere matches. And if you're going to carry strike anywhere matches and you're not going to carry the case because it's too large, at least carry one of the striking surfaces that comes on the original container. I mentioned some fish hooks. There's an array of various fish hooks. We have lots of trout in streams in Alberta, and trout are a little easier to catch. So there's fishing line, fishing lures, some spoons, and the line is already tied. There's some bait hooks that you could put a grub or some kind of an insect on there and drop it into a stream and perhaps get yourself a safe little meal. A small amount of first aid supplies. The objective with the kit is not to double as a survival kit and a first aid kit. The objective is to be able to apply a little bit of repairs. So in this case, I have a safety pin. In this packet, there's chlorotriptyline, which is a good antihistamine if you're suffering from a bee sting or you have an allergic reaction. There's some painkillers. There's a little bit of moleskin that you can use in the event of a blister on your boots if you have to walk a long ways in. There's also a couple Band-Aids and so on. Something to cut with. I'm sure you're carrying a knife and you enter the outdoors, but in the event that you're not, you might want a little tiny bit of help in your survival kit, and that could be a knife. I recommend something with a couple blades. A single-edge razor blade. These are very sharp, but they're safe on one side. So the objective is to have one of those in your survival kit. Some tin foil can be used to wrap food in. It can be used to form a reflective surface, almost as if it was a signal mirror. A few plastic bags. You may want a bag to put all this in when you're using your kit. You may also want to be able to carry a little bit of water back to wherever your lean-to site is or wherever it is that you've set up your survival situation. So as you can see, there's quite a bevy of things in here. One thing I didn't mention actually was this little arrowhead. So you could sharpen a stick or a twig and you might be able to stick that on there and fashion a weapon out of this to kill small game in order to be able to feed you in an emergency situation. The same could be said for nails and these types of things that can be used to help you with your shelter, some string to be able to tie things up, some snare wire, and obviously fire starter. So this is a basic kit with just about everything that I think you might need in an emergency situation. The key is it has to fit into the kit, and it also has to be stuff that you are familiar with. Don't wait until you're in a survival situation to learn how to use your compass. Make sure you know how to do that before you get lost. Make sure that you're capable of actually cooking or boiling water. You might not get a lot of water, but time is not a problem when you're in a survival situation in that you're alone and you got lots of time on your hands. So you want to boil a lot of water in a little tiny container or a little bit over a long period of time, that's fine too. You just need sips. And believe me, you're not going to make giant bowls of soup with this great big little OXO cube here. So here you have the data, the material, the information that you can use to build your survival kit. And yes, it all goes back into this can, and now that work starts. So take advantage of the opportunity that you have with a little bit of time on your hands before you go into the outdoors. Build a survival kit. Tailor it to your specific needs. If you have blood pressure medication that you must take, wrap it in a particular container, put it in there so that it can be used. If you're diabetic and you need particular drugs, anything like that, that's a personalization of your kit. If you have a very hard time using a flint and steel, then carry multiple methods of building a fire. All of those things can be helpful. And on the topic of fire, because fire is so important, it is the single most important characteristic of your being able to get out of the woods in a survival situation, is let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you might want to carry with you if you're going to build a fire. So these don't have to be in your kit. In fact, they can actually be in your pockets, on your side. I recommend carry several means of building a fire. Don't just put all your eggs in one basket and rely on the few matches that are in the kit. Lighters, as an example. Don't carry one, carry 2 or 3. Put one in each pocket. Some of them have lengths that you can stand away from the flame or a little bit further away from the thing that you're trying to ignite. Some of them have torches that can actually throw quite a bit of flame and burn under high circumstances. Make sure that they'll work in cold environments. Not all lighters do. And of course, small fuel versus large fuel. If it means that you're going to stay alive, you'll probably get several fires out of that one stick. We have all kinds of different lighter. In fact, one of our workbooks teaches you how to build a paracord covering on top of a lighter. So in the event of survival situation, you might be able to peel some of that paracord off and then use it to start your fire. Or use it to start a fire, or use it to secure wood or material inside your lean-to. My daughter gave me a Zippo lighter, so I love her to bits for that. And this is believe it or not, a Harley Davidson Zippo, and you could just slip it into your pocket. Or in my case, I fashioned a little leather pouch that fits on my belt, and I carry that, so I'm never without a means of starting a fire. Lots of commercially available waterproof match containers. These have striking surfaces on the cover of the box. Other waterproof match containers. These things here are great because they have a seal inside, a rubber seal, and that rubber seal, you can fill up the space at the top of the case with a little bit of cotton batting and then put strike anywhere matches inside. You can put the cotton in there so it doesn't rattle when you're stalking game or moving throughout the woods, but it also provides you some tinder. Other commercially available products, Zippo makes a little lighter case without fuel. So if you're traveling on an airplane and you need to be able to have something that you can get through, this just has a little sparker, which throws lots of flint, and the steel actually gets ground. It comes with some tinders that you can break apart and light up. These are a few dollars, and you can put them in your pack or throw them in various pockets. Obviously, tea lights, candles. Some people take a bottle cap, drip wax in it, put a piece of string. I mentioned earlier that AHEIA has numerous flints and steel. The secret to a flint and steel is this. No flint and steel will work for you if you don't know how to make it function. The key to making a flint and steel work is to have it so that you can get close to the material that you want to light and have the striking surface that you can grip hard and then cast lots of spark. So when you first get these out of the container, you have to take all of the wax coating and the paint coating, and then they spark like mad. So you can get a spark to something that'll burn quite easy. Other types that exist are these spring-loaded ones. As an example, this one here is pretty strong. So you just hold it in, push your finger down, and then apply lots of spark. In this case, it touched that magnesium, and off it goes. A magnesium fire starter with a striker that's attached. These magnesium fire starters work great. This is the material that's used to weld underwater, and you can hold it fairly close and fairly firm and get lots of spark out of that. If you have to carry a tiger torch in order to build a fire, based on how important it is to build a fire, that's what you have to do. Whatever you need to carry, carry it. Other fire starters, that flint and steel type fire starters that exist, are the types that AHEIA sells as well. And the key, once again, can you hold it firmly? Can you get the material close to the tinder? So in this case, we're going to use a little piece of cotton. Can you get it there? Can you get a spark to it? And if you can you hold it tight enough that you can get those sparks to it to make that light? If you can't, then you probably shouldn't use this particular type or that type. But one spark to a piece of cotton like that goes on fairly quickly. Other fire starters, this was another one of the products that you can find in the AHEIA store as well. It's a flint and steel that is a little bigger, which allows you to really get a good grip on it and hence hold it close to the tinder and then get lots of spark from it when you fire it down. The back comes off, and in the back there's a pouch where you can put things like cotton bat and you can stuff it, or they make commercially made tinder that's wax impregnated and so on. Whatever you decide to carry, a survival kit is vital. Make sure you have a survival kit, build your own, construct it, be comfortable with the contents. If you need to carry methods of building a fire that are multiple types, do it. I like to have a lighter in one pocket, the Zippo on my belt, another lighter in another pocket, one of these in my jacket pocket, another fire starter in yet another pocket or a pouch on my pack. If I get separated from my pack, I at least always have something on my person that I can rely on. Your survival in the outdoors is based on your ability to be able to use your brain to conquer the elements and get out. Be safe, be calm, keep learning, and have fun in the outdoors. Now let's go and let's build your survival kit. Take care, everybody. Be safe.